So before we begin, just a couple of notes on the positioning of the body. So if you have a little space in your room there, you might want to do this first round of practices lying down. If you can stretch out straight from head to toe. I'm going to suggest that you lay down flat on the front side of your body. Or if you prefer to lay on your side or on your back, that's also fine. But some of the practices that we're going to be doing really work great if you're laying on the front of your body. If that's not available for you, either because you're not comfortable or you don't have enough space, I would suggest using a good sturdy chair with a hard back and come sitting at the edge of your chair with your back just about as straight as can be. And of course, sitting on the floor in any way that's comfortable for you is also perfectly fine. But the main way that I want to teach this first round of practices is laying flat on the front of the body, if it's available to you, like this. And I'm going to first just have us center ourselves to our breathing. So we want to see that the breathing is smooth and through the nose, if possible. Or if it's not possible to breathe through the nose because this is allergy season for you or any other reason, through the mouth is fine, it doesn't matter. And we want to see that the inhale and the exhale are approximately the same length. So you might want to count the number of seconds of your next out breath and see that the in breath that follows is about the same length. If you happen to have a tick-tock clock in the room with you, that can be really beneficial for this counting of the seconds of the breath. And see that the breathing is continuous. That is, without pause. So the continuity of the breath is most important at the transition points between the inhale and the exhale, and between the exhale and the inhale. Maybe take the awareness to the edges of the nostrils and see that just as one part of the cycle is finishing, the next part is beginning. And see that the breathing is quiet. Maybe so quiet that only you can hear it. And if I was in the room with you right now, I would be telling you about what I can hear. Or if you're alone in the room, you could just ask yourself, like, is my breathing so quiet that only I can hear it? And then start to deepen the breath. So that's about 6 qualities of breath control that we're looking for here. That the breathing is through the nose and smooth, continuous, quiet, deep, and evenly rhythmical. And I'm going to be quiet now for about a minute or so. And just let you breathe, and then we'll go on. And this next practice that I'd like to teach is called Mula Bandha, or the root lock. And practicing this laying on the front of the body just seems to help with the awareness of it. But this is also commonly called a Kegel exercise, or the pelvic floor lift. So what you're going to do, if it's okay, if you're participating, is on the exhale, contract the anal sphincter and the urethra, the thin muscular web at the bottom of the body. And maybe halfway through the inhale, release. Just a few times rhythmically. Or if you're having trouble feeling it, you might also contract the gluteal area, the buttock. Or you could try holding it for a few breaths. If the rhythmic contraction and release linked with breath is elusive for you. And, since this is suppers, I'm going to talk about why this is good for digestion a little bit. At the level of the gross body, this can be helpful with diarrhea or constipation, and also incontinence. And as we progress towards the more subtle, in a metaphysical sense, this is like sealing off the bottom of the digestive tract. So if you were getting ready to have a meal, this might be a helpful thing to do, because in a metaphysical way, you don't, when you're eating, you don't necessarily want the energy of the food to go straight through you. You might want to hold it for a little bit so you can absorb. So I'm just going to be quiet and give you a few more minutes to put that cap on the bottom of the torso, and then we'll move on. Maybe 30 more seconds. So for this next couple of practices, if you want to stay on the floor, that's really okay. But you might want to come sitting on the edge of your good sturdy chair. A cushy, comfy, squishy chair will most likely not be appropriate. If that's all you have, you might want to try sitting on the floor. And I'm going to give everyone a few seconds to get that organized. By popular request, this next practice is called channel cleansing or alternate nostril breathing. And the left hand just stays in the lap. We're going to use the right hand. Right hand thumb closes the right nostril. And traditionally, a lot of people like to use the ring finger to close the left nostril like that. But really, any finger will do for the left nostril. And let's just all take a couple breaths through each nostril. And we'll just see which nostril is more open, which one's more sticky or globbed up. And see if you can keep your back kind of straight. And you may or may not want to keep that cap on the pelvic floor. And once you've identified which nostril is more open for you this afternoon, we're going to start out with an in-breath through the open side, out through the closed side, then in through the closed side, out through the open side. That's 2 breaths equals 1 round, switching sides at the top of the inhale. Exhale to begin. Engage the pelvic floor lift. See if you want to finish the round that you're on. You know the round is finished when you breathe out through the side that was more open at the beginning. And just pause with the hands in the lap for a few moments, keeping the breath continuous. And see if the balance has changed between the left and right sides of the body. If you've been practicing the root cap, you might also notice that your digestive fire is starting to feel more contained here in the core of the body. And the main idea behind alternate nostril breathing is that if you can keep the airways more or less balanced, that's going to affect your energy throughout the day and also your coordination through the inner ear. And if you can keep them both open, you might just generally feel a bit better. But if we're going to get a little bit more into the esoteric philosophy of yoga, they say that the right side open is more better for eating, and the left side open is more better for sleeping. So if your right nostril is very, very stuck up at lunchtime or dinner time, you might consider waiting an hour before you eat if it's available for you. And of course, if you have to take your lunch break at a specific time, that's a judgment call you can make. But as an experiment, because how you feel is data, this might be something that you'd like to play around with. So I'm going to check the time. I think we'll do one more round before we move on. First, just take a couple breaths through each side. Identify if you have a sticky side or an open side. It may have changed since the beginning of class. And then, once you've picked a side, start out breathing in through the open side, out through the closed side, in through the closed side, out through the open side. That's 2 breaths equals 1 round. Exhale to begin. See if you can keep the breathing smooth and even, continuous, quiet, and deep. I'll pause a few moments while you finish the round that you're on. That means your last breath should go out through the side that you began in on. And then see if you want to just rest the hands in the lap for a moment. Notice what the balance is doing right now. And for this next practice, this will be our last meditation for this afternoon, and then we'll have Q&A. For this last practice, I was thinking it would be nice to do the yogic practice of Pratipaksha Bhavanam, which means dwelling on the opposite. It's also very similar to what's known in Buddhism as the loving kindness meditation. So to begin, we'll just rededicate ourselves to this yogic posture of seated meditation with awareness of breath and the back pretty straight, if possible. And call to mind someone who's easy to love. Like maybe your favorite dog or cat, or a child, or possibly a friend or life partner, but someone without a lot of drama there. Someone who's easy to love. And notice the wellspring of positive regard that wells up inside of you. And if you want, you can just stay with that feeling of positive vibration. Or you might prefer to mentally or out loud repeat the mantra. May you find ease. May you find ease. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. And if that starts to feel pretty easy, call to mind a stranger, someone you don't know very well. Perhaps a face that you passed by in the street, but it stuck with you, or just someone who works at the gas station or the grocery store, you know, someone who someone who you don't know very well, but maybe you see them somewhat regularly. And see if you can work up that indelible wellspring of positive regard. Just see if it's still there from contemplating the previous person. And if you like, you can simply stay with the imagery or the sensation. Or you may silently or out loud repeat the mantra. May you find ease. May you find ease. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. And if that was very difficult, I'd like you to go back to the first person, to the dog or the cat or the child or the loved one who was easy to love. But if you were able to practice on a stranger, maybe try calling to mind someone you do not like very much. Maybe someone you think hates you, or someone who offends you. And if you're still with me, if it's very difficult, go back to something easier. But if you're still with me, we'll begin to practice Pratipaksha Bhavanam. Or dwelling on the opposite. By calling them to mind the indelible wellspring of positive regard for someone who is not easy to love. If you prefer, you can stay with the imagery or the sensation, or repeat silently or out loud the mantra, "May you find ease." May you find ease. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. And now, with just a minute or two before we end practice and open things up for the Q&A, call to mind yourself. And just notice where you fall on your own internal spectrum of lovability without passing judgment. Just notice where you are. And see if you can practice unconditional positive regard for yourself. You can feel free to stay with the imagery or the sensation. Or you can repeat the mantra silently or out loud. Or move to someone easier if loving yourself is just too difficult. And I'm going to be quiet for about a minute. So please try not to disturb your nervous system as you return to the outside world. And I just have a few closing comments. The idea here is to work systematically, recognizing without judgment where you really are, so that you can practice non-judgment on things that are possible and start to form categories of what's easy, what's difficult, and what's impossible. And over time, like anything that you practice, if you practice what's easy and attempt what's difficult, eventually the difficult becomes easy, and what had been impossible becomes only difficult.
Jamie, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. And
Thanks,
we
everyone.
look forward to having you back. And everybody else, thank you for joining us today, and look for other exciting things that we're planning.